This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. The holidays are over, the decorations are down, and suddenly everything feels a little empty. It's normal to feel the winter blues after the holiday excitement. January, February, and March are by far my least favorite months of the year. It's cold and dark, and I have to get some extra vitamin D on board. I also need to keep my regular scheduled appointments with my therapist. So if you're feeling that post-holiday funk, I definitely suggest you checking out BetterHelp because maybe it's time to talk. You might also be one of those people like me who makes New Year's resolutions and you get super motivated. So maybe you need someone behind you to hold you accountable and come up with a plan to meet your goals. BetterHelp is super convenient, totally online. You have a therapist right at your fingertips whenever you need them. So head over to betterhelp.com/wifeofcrime1 to get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp.com/wifeofcrime1 for 10% off your first month.
More Chumba Casino fan mail. Love this. It says, Dear Ryan, I love Chumba Casino. They're so much fun. I love the wild ride from the social slots to the slingo to jackpots quicker than a 6-time real spin. Everybody's finding their fun at Chumba Casino. Why don't you find out for yourself? Head to ChumbaCasino.com and enjoy hundreds of casino-style games for free with your welcome bonus. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply.
So Russ, this week I'm going to tell you about a serial killer who landed his dream job, working as a hitman for the Italian mafia. This is like a match made in heaven. No, actually, a match made in hell. This man was so cold-blooded, he even got the nickname the Iceman. This is the case of Richard Kuklinski.
What's up, everyone? Wife of Crime. We got me, Russ. We got Jess. And this episode is our first sponsor. It is sponsored by Vote for Russ. The campaign is going to live on. That's hashtag vote the number 4 Russ. He is for us. Yeah.
That was a good one. I didn't expect that.
Well, we're the first sponsor. I'm the first sponsor of the podcast. I didn't pay for this ad. I just snuck it in.
Oh, you're funny. So hey guys, what's up? Thanks for tuning back in to Wife of Crime.
I feel like it's been a long time.
It actually hasn't. It's been a week.
I think it's because I quit my job and I didn't have anything to do all week.
That's true.
I didn't quit my job to become a podcaster. I got other things going on.
Yeah. Or just to become a bum. Like you just had, let's quit my job.
Well, I also got down with the other website that just signed up for, supportaman.com.
Oh,
so I'm going to be a stay-at-home husband.
He wishes. Anyway, so yeah, it hasn't been that long. It's been 1 week. So before we get started, I want to shout out some people that shared the podcast. Amanda Jo Cakes on Instagram. Thank you for sharing. Check out her Instagram. She's a pastry chef. She's got a lot of cool cakes and pastries on there.
I like Swiss rolls.
You do love Swiss rolls.
If she can make some custom Swiss rolls,
I'm sure she can. I think she actually has made them.
You know who my favorite baker is?
Who?
Debbie. Lil Debbie? She's my favorite.
All that processed sugar.
Bruh, those things kept you alive. For $1, you get like a bunch of cakes when you're a kid and eat them.
I'm also going to shout out CJ with Klutzy Gaming on Twitter. So, like, I'm not really good at keeping up my Twitter, guys. I'm really much better with Instagram. On Twitter, we only have like 50 followers. So if you're a Twitterer, you can go and follow us on Twitter because we really don't have that many followers. So I don't keep up with it as much. But every single time I post anything, he always retweets it. So thanks a lot for doing that. I really appreciate it.
Dope. I appreciate that.
And I want to shout out Shane, who shared us on Instagram, and Carrington, who shared us on Instagram. So thank you guys.
Thanks, everybody.
We appreciate you. We don't grow without you guys telling people. I also want to give a little shout out to 2 of my coworkers who literally tell everybody I work with about this podcast. Aileen and Addie. They're my 2 coworkers, and they tell everyone. And I come into work and they're like, oh, I started listening to your podcast. Aileen told me about it.
I can see it now. Someone's about to die. They go, but before, I'm going to let you die. But before you finish, listen to Wife of Crime.
No, they don't. I work in an ER. That's why he's saying that. But no, they don't do that. They tell my other coworkers. And Addie has told some patients.
Yeah, so. Like, I'm going to let you be sick, but before you're sick. And that's one of the rules if you want to survive is don't get sick.
It's true. So thank you so much to everyone. You guys are so great. Thanks for all the comments. I mean, like I said, we really do communicate on Instagram. I posted a post with
What's
all
the
of
Instagram again?
Wife of Crime Pod.
All right, because I forgot.
I posted a post with all of our 5-star reviews. So there's a lot of people who listen who maybe don't have Instagram, but I did acknowledge you. If you gave us a 5-star review, I really appreciate you. My girl Vernie at work, she gave us a 5-star review. She doesn't have Instagram, I don't think, but I just want to shout her out.
Well,
too.
Vernie,
so
if you don't have Instagram and you want to see the pics, go to wifeofcrime.com and you can see all the pics about the case.
Yeah, so if you don't have Instagram, definitely check out wifeofcrime.com. Also, Wife of Crime on Facebook. We post everything, like updates on all the cases there too. So that's it. That's all of our little, I don't know what this would be called. Our little like
it's all of our stuff.
Housekeeping.
It's our stuff.
Our stuff.
In the beginning, we do stuff, and then we tell you a story.
True. So this week, I'm going to tell you a story that my friend Paul has been asking me to do pretty much every week.
Of course,
since we started.
For a Goomba killer.
For the last 20 weeks.
He's an Italian dude, that's why I said that.
Yes, he's an Italian dude from the Bronx. And for the last 20 weeks, he has been asking me to cover the Iceman. And I'm not going to lie, I wasn't super interested in this. Not because I don't like mafia stuff. I love learning and watching movies and reading about the mob. I feel like it's like just such a whole other world, and I think it's so interesting. But I didn't know if it would be great for a true crime podcast.
Yeah, because I feel like mob stuff is more about like making money.
It is, and it's more of
and
its
I
like
condone
own,
making money.
You do. It's more of its own genre, I feel like. But
that's why you should vote for me.
You're so weird. But Paul has been asking me, and I finally researched this guy. And when I did, I realized that he is a complete nutcase, psychopathic, cold-hearted, terrible person who is perfect for our podcast because that's all we talk about, are cold-hearted, terrible, psychopathic people.
All the good folks.
So we really talk about some winners here on this podcast. So the Iceman, a.k.a. Richard Kuklinski, is going to be the subject of our story today.
I'm guessing this was probably in New York.
Yeah, definitely. New York. So what do you think of when you think of the mob? When I say mafia, what comes to mind first?
I think of Adidas tracksuits, slick back hair. You know, a lot of forget about it.
Forget about it.
You know, when in the restaurant they want some fried calamari, not calamari.
Well, but that's only in New York. Well, I guess all the crime families.
What else do I think of?
Are in New York.
Short, stocky dudes.
Yeah.
Cadillacs, money.
Those are all good things. What's your favorite mob movies? Mafia movies?
Bronx Tale.
Bronx Tale's the best.
Bronx Tale. Now you can't leave.
Yeah, if you guys haven't seen Bronx Tale, you have to just take 2 hours out of your day. Robert De Niro's first film that he directed, and it is literally the best. I have to say though, Goodfellas is like right up there. Oh,
Goodfellas. I like Casino.
Yeah.
People are gonna be upset, but I'm not the biggest Godfather guy.
I know you're not. I really love The Godfather, but I have to say that I think, I mean, it's like a classic. It's one of the, like, Marlon Brando was amazing in that movie. But I have to say that Goodfellas and Bronx Tale are my
You know what it
two.
is? A Casino's dope. Did I say that? But yeah. I think The Godfather isn't the best for me because I saw it late.
Yeah,
if I would have saw it when it first came out, it might have been a little more epic.
Well, it came out, like, when did it come out? In the 80s, 70s?
But I don't know. I saw it, like, a long time ago, the first part, and I was a little bored. And I don't really remember it, but I remember just not liking it.
It's a long movie.
I didn't hate it.
Wow.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, I didn't hate
But
it.
maybe now as like an adult male, if you watched it, you might appreciate it more. I don't know. Because you're like in a different part of your life. Maybe you'll appreciate it more. But anyway, yeah, those are my favorite mafia movies too. And I don't know. I just feel like The Mob, like I said, wasn't normally a true crime subject, but this one's going to be a good one. Are you ready?
I'll listen.
All right. So the Iceman. His real name was Richard Kuklinski, and he worked as a mob hitman for 4 decades until he was finally caught in 1986. He was convicted of only 6 murders, but has admitted to killing hundreds.
He probably can't remember he killed so many. Like who he
Yeah,
killed.
he says in his interviews, like, I can estimate, but I can't remember how many. He was known among mob associates as the devil himself, or the one-man army. He was physically intimidating. He stood 6'5" and weighed approximately 270 pounds. So he was
he was a big dude.
Really big dude, yeah.
The Giants could use him on the offensive line right now. Struggling.
So law enforcement became aware of all of his dirty deeds, which led to an 18-month undercover sting operation that finally resulted in his arrest in 1986. Since being in prison, Kuklinski has admitted to carrying out jobs for all 5 crime families in NYC, as well as the DeCavalcanti crime family in New Jersey.
No way you said that right.
DeCavalcanti. Yes, it is right.
DeCavalcanti.
Yeah, I didn't.
I don't know. I just said it like that.
DeCavalcanti.
I don't know. We're just making it up.
Yeah. Well, that's the crime
Well, it's
family.
a real crime family.
They are in New Jersey. He claims to have killed between 100 and 250 people between 1948 and 1986. So, like, just so people who aren't up on their mafia stuff, there's like, I'll tell you like a little summary. So there's 5 crime families: the Bonanos, the Colombos, the Gambinos, the Genoveses, and the Luccheses. And the crime
Did you
families...
mean to rhyme them?
I didn't mean to.
All right.
So the mob started in 1931, and they're still active today. And a lot of activity, though, was really big between the 40s and the 80s. But then, you know, organized crime...
Didn't like Giuliani like have a war on that or something like that?
He did. And like the FBI and the NYPD like really started making all these task force and really cracked down on it, because the thing that they do, you know, the crime families are big into trafficking,
extortion.
Yeah, extortion, smuggling, loan sharking, gun running, bookmaking, and drugs. So,
I mean, a lot of those aren't bad to me.
well, of course they're not
Loan
bad.
sharking, like whatever. You lend someone money, you should get interest. Gambling, you should be allowed to gamble. What was the other ones?
Gun running, illegal guns,
Well, I mean, I don't know, maybe.
drugs.
Drugs. Hey, if you want to do drugs, do drugs.
No, they sold drugs.
Someone got to sell them.
I know, but the problem with the mob is they extort small businesses. Now, that's messed up to me.
Yes.
You're just a small business owner, just some guy who wants to open up a liquor store or a corner store or something.
I'm anti that.
And they come in and they tell you, I need this much % of your profits every month in order for you to hold this business here, or we're shutting you down.
And what sucks is you can't, like, you probably could beat them up before they leave, but then they're going to come back and burn your stuff down. And
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, you know what? Some of the stuff they did, it's no big deal. The bookies, the gambling, whatever. But then when they start killing people, when they start, like, threatening innocent people who are just trying to, you know, make a living, that to me is when the mob gets out of hand. So the organized crime divisions in the NYPD and FBI really cracked down on them in the 70s and 80s. Remember Donnie Brasco? That was an awesome...
undercover like Donnie Brasco.
Yeah, that was a really good story, too. He was like, he pretended to be a diamond thief. He was in the mob for 6 years undercover. How crazy is that?
He probably was so scared of getting close to death so many times. There was a movie.
Yeah, there was a movie, and he was like, he was deep in, like, he got in with the big guys, the big bosses and everything, which is, like, unheard of, so...
Well, it's like a job. If you're there for 6 years, eventually you get a promotion.
Yeah, but like they never thought that an undercover agent would be able to get that close to these bosses because they're so protected.
He probably had to do illegal things for the mob in order to like prove himself. He probably like killed people or something. There's to a certain extent, you know.
There's a podcast called Mafia, and they do a 2-part episode about Donnie Brasco, and it's interviews with him, and he talks all about it. It's really cool. You guys should check it out. I was
Donnie, if you hear this, hit me up.
His name's not Donnie in real life.
We're gonna do a good interview.
Donnie Brasco is his undercover name.
Yeah, well, I don't know his name, so Donnie, hit me up. No one else.
Hashtag hit me up. That's your like go-to line. Hit me up, everybody.
Well, yeah, like, what you gonna
But
do
you don't
later?
really want anyone to hit you up.
Not really. I'll probably block you if you message me.
Okay.
Unless,
Oh, go ahead.
Unless you're voting for me, I guess I gotta talk to my.
Yeah, right.
What are those called? The people that vote for you? Your supporters.
Constituents.
I gotta talk to my supporters.
Okay. So NYC really cracked down on the mob, but that's like a little history of the 5 crime families in case you're not up on your mob history. The DeCavalcanti family was in New Jersey, and they were also a pretty big family. And I think that's what The Sopranos, the show The Sopranos, was based off of, the DeCavalcanti family. So Richard Kuklinski, he claimed a lot of controversial things as well. And some people think, did he actually kill some of these big people that he claimed to kill?
He might be exaggerating.
Yes. So some people do believe him. Like some NYPD officers and FBI agents believe that he did these things.
Well, this reminds me of last week, like the dude from Baltimore who ate the people in the barbecue.
Yeah.
As I'm looking into it, I'm like, this guy might be a fraud.
Well, this guy was 100% not a fraud, but he might have been an exaggerator.
He's like someone that like lies and says their penis is really big. like something like that. Like it's just like a macho bravado
It's
thing.
a macho
when
thing.
you make like big penis jokes.
Yeah. Well, he...
Like the first It, when the little kid was making all those jokes.
Oh, yeah.
That was really funny, though.
So Richard Kuklinski claimed that he's the one that killed Jimmy Hoffa. And the death of Jimmy Hoffa is still a mystery. No one knows who actually killed him. The movie The Irishman is coming out on Netflix, and we're
gonna watch it later.
We're gonna watch it, and they claim that The Irishman killed Jimmy Hoffa, but that's also not proven either. But Richard Kuklinski claims that he got paid $40,000 by the mafia to carry out this hit. He drove from New Jersey to Detroit with 4 mob associates, met Hoffa in a restaurant, and then forced him into their car. Once there, Kuklinski knocked him unconscious, stabbed him in the head with a hunting knife, and then put the body in the trunk and drove it all the way back to New Jersey, where they took it to an impound lot and crushed it. And one of the jokes he made in his interview is that Jimmy Hoffa is now in a bunch of cars because he became scrap metal, who then turned into building materials for other cars. So
his joke really sucked.
Yeah, it wasn't like a joke. It was more just like a whatever. So that's what he says, but people think that maybe he's just being opportunistic now that he's in prison, and
Dude, if I was in jail, I'm gonna make up I'm making up tons of stories. I'm gonna say I did all kind of stuff, and just to like have something to do. You have nothing to do.
Yeah. So since he's been in jail, in 1992, HBO recorded a 2 or 3 part documentary called The Iceman Tapes, inside the mind of a mafia hitman, and it's interviews, like hours of interviews with him, and I watched all of them.
Just bragging and stuff?
No, he's talking about like what he did. He's literally cold-hearted. And then they wrote a book about him.
I'll interview him. I'll profile him. I'll do a whole thing.
So you're not going to interview him.
Oh, all right. Well, all right.
Yeah, the Iceman died in prison. So, anyway, they did this whole documentary. That's where I got a lot of my information. And then the always amazing Last Podcast on the Left did a 3-part series on him, and I listened to that, and it was awesome.
You listen to a lot of podcasts.
I do. All right, so let me tell you a little bit about his early life so we can kind of get a full framework for the mind of Richard Kuklinski. He had a crazy life and a crazy mindset, and it all stems from his childhood.
Here we go.
Richard was born April 11th, 1935, to Polish immigrants, Stanley and Anna Kuklinski, in Jersey City, New Jersey. His father worked for the railroad as a brakeman, but he was a severe alcoholic who would beat his wife and kids on a daily basis. Richard was one of 4 children. His mother, Anna, worked at a meat processing plant, and she was like a devout Catholic, so she didn't believe in divorce. She was extremely strict and religious, and wouldn't leave her abusive husband because of this. And she would also frequently beat her kids. His father was...
It's like a circle of beatings.
His father was a total psychopath. And his mother was kind of a shell of a woman because She was beat by her parents. She was sent to Catholic school and molested by priests for multiple years. And then she gets into this marriage with this abusive, it's just like the cycle of abuse.
I feel like back in the day, all kids got beat. There wasn't no kid that didn't get hit.
No, this is different, and I'm going to tell you why. When Richard was 5 years old, his brother Florian was murdered by his father.
Oh.
His father beat his son so badly, his son Florian so badly, that he died. And that
pisses me off.
When he realized that he killed his son, he didn't feel bad about it. He told his wife, Anna, to call the hospital and say the kid fell down the steps. And that's what they did. And it was a cover-up. And they kept it a secret. So this child died from his father beating him. And his father didn't feel bad about it.
Piece of shit.
A few years after this, Richard's father just left the family, and Anna was left to raise 3 kids by herself.
Probably better off that he left.
It's probably better off, but at this point, the damage was done, and Richard was known to have an extremely explosive temper, and he became like a really violent kid, especially as he became a teenager.
He probably was angry.
Very angry.
His little brother got killed.
And this is what all he grew up seeing is violence all the time. And now they're really poor because their mom is having to raise these 3 kids by herself. So he started stealing food for his family when he was like 11, 12, 13. He started stealing food to feed his
Nothing wrong with that.
Brothers and sisters. But he realized once he started doing it that he liked the thrill of stealing.
When I was a little kid, I stole baseball cards sometimes.
You did?
Yeah, there was this place called Victor's right on Tremont Avenue, and we used to all steal baseball cards from there.
Oh, poor store owner.
Yeah, it was such a little store. They sold like cards and stuff. That was the only thing I ever stole, because stealing is terrible.
One time I stole a bracelet. I was in Claire's, and I was with my friends, and one of my friends that I used to hang out with, she used to steal everything. Like, we would go through the store. I never did it because I was too scared to get caught. She would take shirts, pants, put them all in her. She would wear, like, big sweatshirts to the mall, and she would stuff them under her sweatshirt.
Wow.
And, yeah.
She's a professional.
We would go to the mall all the time, and this girl would steal all this stuff. And so finally, after seeing her steal this stuff, I kind of, like, got ballsy enough to try it myself.
Does your mom know this?
I don't think so. And
Terry, come on, man. You're gonna.
I was like,
you have to teach her better than this.
I think I was like 12 or 13, and I put the bracelet on my wrist in Claire's, and I walked out so fast, and I had like my heart was beating really fast. I was
you were so nervous.
Scared. Oh, I was so nervous. I never did it again. I never stole again after that because I was too scared.
I feel like that at that place where you steal baseball cards, I feel like we were all so obvious that he knew we were stealing, and he was just letting us have them.
No,
because there were so many. Yo, I used to have friends that would go there. They come like in a box, the packs of cards, and these dudes would walk out with every pack in the box and leave the entire box empty.
Well, that was a nice guy if he just let you steal his stuff.
He had to know. It was a small store. He was just sitting there breathing out his mouth. It was. Yo, sorry.
Shout out to that guy.
Yeah, now I don't even have those cards. Long story what happened to them. Maybe I'll tell you another episode.
Oh. So Kuklinski stole food for his family, realized that he really enjoyed the thrill of stealing. And this is when the switch went off in his head that he was destined to be a criminal. So he started stealing anything. Cars, people's property. He's only 12, 13 years old. He's stealing cars, anyone's property. And then he got really into true crime magazines.
Wow. Now he's on all these episodes. He's probably rejoicing in his grave. And that's why he made up all these stories. He's probably in hell
rejoicing.
I don't know if there's a hell, but he's in the dirt. I don't know. Whatever. Just go.
So he would steal.
I didn't know where I was going with that.
I don't know either.
It led to a dead end.
Come on, Russ. You need to be more funny for the podcast. Everyone's counting on it.
The
pressure is on.
This is all I got. I'm only me.
So he stole true crime magazines. He was a big true crime fan, apparently. And this became like almost an obsession for him.
Kind of like all you girls that listen to
like
True
me
Crime Podcast.
Me and all my friends.
It's a women-driven thing. We know this.
Yeah, but there's
some dudes. I listen to some too.
Yeah, you do.
Yo, shout out to the other dudes out there listening. We're not alone. We're the minority right now. We're going to take this game over, though.
No, in true crime, men are definitely the minority, for sure.
Well, you know what it is? Because they turned the woman channel into the true crime channel and converted all of you.
Oxygen.
You guys were all manipulated.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely a woman thing, but there are men that are into it. And he was into it. He was totally obsessed with these true crime magazines. He used to read them nonstop. So as a teenager, he started showing signs of like serial killer tendencies because he would torture animals. He would listen to this. This is like...
I don't even want to listen.
No, I have to tell you because you have to understand the mind of this person.
Do you know if I was listening to this podcast, like on the podcast, you could push a button, skip 30 seconds. I'd probably skip 2 times, go a minute right past this.
Well, I'm going to say it because some people like the details. He would take cats, he would tie their tails together and then hang them over a clothesline just to watch them tear each other apart. Right? That's how brutal he was. And he's 12 doing this, 12, 13.
Damn.
He would light dogs on fire, stray dogs. He would throw cats down the incinerator of his apartment building and he would like listen to them try to claw back up. And he said that he enjoyed it. He also said that another reason, like later in life, he said another reason he thinks he did it is because he felt absolutely nothing. And he didn't understand as a kid why he felt nothing. And so he kept doing these bad things to see if anything would spark an emotion in him. And nothing ever did.
I mean, I could see that. I could see that.
So he kind of felt like, why am I not feeling bad? Why don't I care? That's what he kept saying to himself. So his first murder happened when he was just 13 years old. A boy named Charlie Lane was the leader of a street gang called the Project Boys because he lived in the projects. Richard Kuklinski lived in the projects.
Okay.
And there's this gang, the street gang called the Project Boys. But Kuklinski, remember, he's 13 and he's hit his growth spurt as far as height, but he hasn't hit his growth spurt as far as width. And
That's not what happened. So what happened is he was skinny and tall, but he didn't have a lot of money to get fat yet. Fat's coming.
Well, yeah, he never got super
you
fat.
Get fat
he was just tall
when you
and
get
big.
a girlfriend or wife.
Well, when he was 13, he was tall and gangly.
Or like my friend Lou, he got fat because he fell in love with Chicken Parm Heroes. This is the truth. He listens.
He listens to the podcast. Lou is going to kill you.
Yo, so he went up to Tremont Avenue and he started living up there. And he lived next to a pizza shop. He loved Chicken Parm Heroes. And one day we came by and he was playing basketball with his shirt off. And he had a fat ass belly.
Lou is going to kill you. I can't believe you're saying this.
Yo, Lou, shout out to your belly. But he lost some weight after that. It was like a beginning obsession with Chicken Parm Heroes. In an Italian episode, it's very fitting. Chicken Parm, you know?
It is fitting. So his first murder was the leader
Lou.
The leader of this gang called the Project Boys. And this gang bullied Kuklinski for years because he was this tall, gangly dude. So one day, Kuklinski just had enough. And he waited outside of this kid's building with a giant piece, like a thick piece of wood. And he waited for hours. He sat there waiting for this guy to come home.
Wow, all the things that go through your head while you're waiting.
And he's just sitting there
he's probably
waiting,
furious.
Patiently waiting. When Charlie Lane came out, or he was waiting for him to come out of his building. When he came out of his building, Richard approached him, and Charlie called him a stupid Polak. And that was the end. He beat Charlie to death.
That's what I'm talking about. Get him.
Don't say that, because he
was a bully.
Began...
I'm very anti-bullying.
I know.
Well, so don't hit people. If you make fun of people in a tasteful way, to me, that's no big deal. Sticks and stones. But don't touch nobody.
Well, he beat this kid to death. And he claims that he didn't originally intend to kill him. He meant to just beat him up because they'd been beating him up for so many years.
Yeah, so he deserved it.
But
Screw that guy.
He took it too far and beat the kid to death. When he realized that he did, he remembered all the knowledge he gained from his true crime magazines. So he took a hammer. Listen to this. He took a hammer. He knocked out all the kid's teeth and then cut off his fingers so that no one could identify the body.
Wait, did he drag the body away? You can't do that in front of the building.
No. He took the body, he dragged it away, he did that, and then he threw it off of a bridge. Threw the body off of a bridge.
Bloop.
And don't do that. And in South Jersey, and the body was never found. But the kid was reported missing. And, you know...
Well, back then they didn't have DNA, so he might have been a John Doe. No fingerprints, no teeth.
Exactly. So this was his first murder. And like I said, he was 13 when he did this. 13!
That guy deserved it. He had it coming.
It doesn't matter. He's 13, Russ. And so was this kid. These were like young teens. Do you remember you at 13? Were you killing other kids and dismembering their bodies at 13?
Well, someone bullied me, and he probably deserves to die. But now I see him on Instagram, and he's a loser, so I win.
Anyway, I'm getting off this. So he was only 13 years old, and this was his first murder. And he says that at this point, he felt totally invincible. And when he finished getting rid of the body, he took a big giant piece of metal, and went to the entire gang and beat up every kid in the gang.
Wow, because he was big. They probably weren't as big as him.
No, and that was his time where he realized he had the power. And, you know, even though he was skinny, he was powerful, and he felt invincible. And this turned him from being the kid who was bullied to the kid that bullied.
See?
So...
You had potential there. Could have just got rid of that dude, got your ego up, and chilled.
So Richard started walking around his neighborhood with a knife, and he would slash people. He would literally slash anybody that bothered him, people that just annoyed him. He ended up dropping out of school, and he started hanging out in bars and pool halls, and he became this expert pool player. He was only like 15 at this time. And he started hanging out with a really bad crowd, doing drugs, and, you know, these guys in these bars, some of them were criminals and into criminal activity, and they brought him into it. And he was, like I said, only 15 years old. So he was really just learning about the worst part of humanity. He said that his biggest pet peeve was loudmouth know-it-alls.
I don't like those either.
And he would kill them. So, like... He would be around a person, just random person, stranger, who was a loudmouth or a know-it-all, and he would just walk up to them and stab them and kill them.
You know what's funny? Because I think when there's a loudmouth know-it-all, like, man, I wish they would just shut the, F up. I'm not going to curse all the time. I wish they would just shut up, but not disappear and be dead. That's crazy.
He would kill them. He said that those people remind him of his father. And he didn't want anyone around him like his father. He hated his father, obviously, because of everything his father did.
You should go kill him.
Yeah, he couldn't find him.
He killed his brother.
I know. How crazy is that?
That's bullshit.
So there was this cop named Officer Doyle, and he would come play pool once in a while at the pool hall. He was a cop that, was in the NYP, or in Jersey, and the neighborhood knew him. Kuklinski beat him up one day after beating him in pool. So then Doyle came back and started talking all this crap to him, started talking tons of shit, and ended up getting really drunk one night, walked out of the pool hall, sat in his car, and passed out in his car. So Kuklinski went to the gas station down the street, got some gas, poured it all over the guy and the car, and just set it on fire in the middle of the pool hall parking lot.
Savage.
He was a savage. And I'm just going to keep reminding you, he was only 15.
That's nuts.
So one time he even shot a random man in the face with a crossbow because he wanted to see what it looked like to shoot somebody in the face with a crossbow. He just walked up to a random person with a giant crossbow, shot him in the head.
Wow.
Savage, okay? So when he was 16 years old, he formed a gang of his own called the Coming Up Roses Gang. Coming Up Roses Gang. I don't know. It's a weird name for a gang.
The name sucks.
Yeah, Coming Up Roses. And they got a scroll and their gang name tattooed on their hand. That's how you knew, they were in this gang. He wanted to look like a big shot. So he started buying bright yellow and pink suits, and he would dress in these like bright yellow and pink and like tailored silk suits.
Sounds like he's the Easter Bunny.
I know. He
Aren't
was the
those
Easter
Easter
bunny that would
colors?
kill you.
It's like the gangster bunny.
The gangster bunny. Yeah, so he would wear these like tailored. I mean, he grew up poor, you know, in the projects. So I guess to him, he was like flossing in these.
In my mind, what year was this again?
This is in like the 50s.
Because in my mind, it's hard to see pink and yellow because everything back then on TV was black and white. So in my mind, this whole story is in black and white.
That's really funny. Yeah, so he grew up with nothing. So, you know, when he started making some money as a teenager, he wanted to show off. And so he would wear these like really loud, bright suits.
I bought stupid stuff when I was when I got a little money, got a job. Like I had velour suits and stuff.
You had velour suits.
Yeah, I had a few. I was fresh though. What else? I don't know. I bought a lot of silly stuff.
Yeah, I mean, when you grow up with nothing, you tend to do that as you get older. So his gang, the Roses, bless you.
Thanks. Jeez, that was a tough one.
His gang, they started extorting businesses in the neighborhood, burglaring houses, and, you know, just gang stuff. And he became kind of infatuated with the mob. But, you know, he's Polish, so he could never be in the mob.
Oh, so he's mad because he can't be in it.
Well,
There's not a
mad.
Polish mob?
I don't know. But
There's like an Irish mob, I heard.
There is an Irish mob, but, you know, the Italian mafia was huge in New York and New Jersey. And I don't think he was jealous. He was just probably more envious that he couldn't be part of that lifestyle, so he tried to form it on his own with his own people.
With the pink and yellow suit. What a dummy.
So eventually the De Cavalcanti crime family took notice of him in Jersey. They started hearing about this Polish dude. And they decided there was a guy named Carmine Genovese. His nickname was Meatball.
That's a good one.
And which I thought was really funny because he's like a mob associate. His nickname's Meatball. They have the best nicknames.
Very fitting.
Yeah, it is. So one day he invited the Coming Up Roses gang to his house. He cooked them some spaghetti and asked them to
What was that?
spaghetti.
You sound like Mario and Luigi from the Mario Brothers.
I know. Luigi. So they cooked him some spaghetti and asked him and his gang to kill this guy that they would pay him to kill. So this was his first contract kill.
Well, he's been doing it for free all this time.
Yeah, he'd been doing it for free. So this mob boss was like, well, not boss, associate, was like, we'll pay you X amount of dollars to kill this guy. And this made him excited because, like I said, he's Polish. You're not allowed to be in the mafia unless you're Italian. So he was finally working with them, and this is something that he had been wanting. Like, can you imagine your aspirations are to want to work with the mafia?
It's get rich or die trying.
Hey, there you go.
I ain't mad at people that come from the struggle and try to figure it out. I mean, don't be a piece of shit, but you can
he's definitely a piece of shit.
Yeah, you could cut some corners and kill the bullies. That's okay. But don't kill good people.
Yeah, he killed everybody, so he didn't care. So they found, they decided to take this contract.
Hey, no one killed bullies and say you listen to this podcast. Don't do that.
What?
This is just for entertainment purposes only.
Everyone knows that, Russ.
I don't know. There's some stupid people. Just saying, you know.
No one's going to kill the bullies and say a podcast told
They'll be like,
me
yo,
to.
Russ the profiler said it was all right. You know, in this cancel culture, you know, it's a crazy world.
It is a crazy world. You're right. So they decided to take this contract, and they found their mark in a Hoboken bar. And one of the gang members that was supposed to carry out the kill. So Kuklinski was with, his gang, but he wasn't the one who was actually going to pull the trigger. He was just...
He's like the middleman connecting the deal.
He was just in the car.
Like, hey, I know a guy.
Yeah, he was like in the car, but one of the members of his gang was the one that was actually supposed to go up and kill the guy with the gun. But he froze. So Kuklinski grabbed the gun, walked right up to the mark, and shot him in the head. Turned around, walked back into the car, totally expressionless. And after driving a few blocks, his guys said to him, "Richie, you're cold as ice." And that's where he got the name, the Iceman. There is some controversy. Some people believe that the Iceman nickname came from other things I'll tell you about later. But he says himself that this happened, and this is where his nickname stemmed from.
That's a cool name.
Yeah, they always give these serial killers cool names.
Maybe we should make something else up. Like, he had a bad ankle. He was always icing it, so we called him Iceman. Ankle was always swollen,
So each member of the gang returned to Meatball and he gave them drinks and $500 each, which in the 50s, this is a lot of money. $500, for each guy in the gang. That was a decent amount of money.
You get a lot of pink and yellow suits.
And at this point, Richard was 17 years old. So, that's a lot of money for a 17-year-old, especially in the 50s. So, by now, Richard was not only carrying out contracts for the DeCavalcanti family, but he became associated with the Gambino crime family in New York City, which we know is one of the 5 families.
Yeah, I hear that one a lot.
So this
It's like in
relationship,
a lot of rap songs or something.
Well, yeah. I feel like a lot of them are. The ones that aren't so well known as like the Lucchese's. You don't really hear about the Lucchese's very much. I hear
Probably
about the
because
other ones.
it's probably because it doesn't rhyme with a lot of stuff. Like, I listen to a lot of rap music.
It's true. So the relationship with the Gambino family started after a soldier for the family named Roy DeMeo, who, when you look up Roy DeMeo, he was a savage all on his own. He has his own story that's pretty crazy. He was an associate for this family, and he came after Kuklinski for an unpaid debt. So Kuklinski started working at 20th Century, right?
Century 21? He sold clothes?
No, 20th Century Fox. 20th Century Fox?
Oh, TV.
The producers of films. So he started working for 20th Century before they became 20th Century Fox. And he started bootlegging Disney movies. And then it turned from Disney movies to porn.
Okay, he was a pioneer. He could have been rich. He was a little early.
Well, he was making some money. So Roy DeMeo came after him because he had an unpaid debt. And Roy DeMeo's guys beat the crap out of him. And he took this beating like a man. He didn't fight back. He knew that he was wrong.
If you don't pay your debt, then you deserve a beating.
So he took this beating like a man. And once his debt was paid, Roy DeMeo remembered, he took it like a man. Maybe this guy is somebody that I could work with. And ended up seeking him out and asking him to do some jobs and work with the Gambino family. So he in order for Roy to know that he was like good enough to work with them, he took him out for a drive and he handed him a gun. And there was a guy, just a random guy, could have been you, Russ, walking his dog down the street.
Oh, shit.
And Roy DeMeo said, if you want to work for us and you want to prove your loyalty, go shoot that guy in the face. Right?
Hopefully that was like a guy that's in that world walking his dog.
No, he was random, just a random stranger walking his dog.
I'm going to stop walking my dog with my hood on because it messes up my peripheral vision.
Probably a good idea.
I think that sometimes. I'm like, I really can't see out of the side. Stupid fur on the hood.
Yeah.
It's not real fur. Just for the people.
So he walked up to this random guy and he shot him in the head. And this proved to Roy DeMeo that he was loyal and that he would do anything for him. So some say Kuklinski was a serial killer. This is debated, because he was a contract hitman.
To me, if you're paid, you're not a serial killer. So, he was a serial killer before. Once you start getting paid for your crimes, there's another category. I don't know what it is, but that's not
what
a
you think. Well,
in my mind.
Well, some say that he was a serial killer, and this is why they say it. Because in 1954, at 19 years old, not only was he doing the contract killings and making money off that, but he would head down to Hell's Kitchen and different parts of Manhattan, and he would kill bums and gay men for sport.
He's definitely gay then.
And no, he's not gay.
Because a lot of stories I heard, the dudes that kill the gay dudes, they're usually gay.
Well, the reason he said that he would do it is because back then, no one cared about homeless people or gay people. Ooh. And he knew that the NYPD wouldn't investigate these crimes and he wouldn't get caught for it. So he wanted to perfect his craft, quote unquote, as they say, like make him a better killer by going down to Manhattan and killing all of these random people. And he would do it in really crazy different ways. He didn't just have a gun and would go up and shoot people. He would strangle them. He did this thing that
This was like his apprenticeship.
Well, he did it at the same time as carrying out the contract. So that's why people think of him as a serial killer, because it was almost like...
That's a serial killer.
Yeah, like he was paid for it, but then he was also into thrill killing.
That's pretty whack.
So one thing that he would do is he called it the tree. And he would take a rope, he would put it around people's necks, and then since he was so tall, he was 6'5", he would put the person over his back. So they were hanging off of his back. I don't know if it's kind of hard to picture it.
And I can picture it. It's like you're dragging them like a sack.
Yes,
like over your shoulder.
Over your shoulder. And he called himself the tree, like as if they were hanging from a tree.
Somebody to chop that tree, boy.
And he wouldn't stop until they stopped kicking and they were dead. And he would do this to random people as well as the people he was paid to kill. But police didn't investigate these crimes, and he would just throw the bodies in the Hudson River, and no one ever knew the better of it. And he said this was practice for him. So by his early 20s, Richard had been dating a woman named Linda, who he would beat all the time. And eventually, Linda became pregnant. Richard tried to get rid of the baby by punching Linda in the stomach. But when it didn't work, he decided to let Linda have the baby. Like, how disgusting is he?
Yes.
He's disgusting.
Yeah.
Eventually, they had another kid, and Richard says in interviews later in life that he never loved any of them. So after a couple of years, he just left them.
He's like his dad.
Which good for them, though, right? That he just left, because they, like, dodged a bullet.
Hopefully they didn't, like, seek his approval later in life and visit that piece of shit in jail.
No, they didn't. He never spoke to them again. They never spoke to him. They lost contact.
Good.
And,
They were probably big. They should have jumped him. I'm a big advocate of jumping.
So the contract killings kept coming, and Richard started experimenting with different killing methods, like I said, strangulation, stabbing, shooting. And he even got to the point where he would put cyanide in people's food. He started using cyanide. He started experimenting with poisons, and he got really into like reading up about poisons. He really enjoyed thinking of new ways to carry out his contract kills. So he became one of the first guys to work for all 5 crime families. He mainly worked for the Gambinos, but he worked for these crime families because they wanted to kill a couple bosses. And in order to, in this world of this crazy crime mafia
That's
world,
crazy, because he probably knew stuff from both sides, and he was just like the killing guy. So he killed people he spoke to like, maybe someone sent him out to a kill, and then maybe later he came back and killed them for the other family. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. So no one knew his name. Everyone just knew him as the Pollock or the Iceman, and that's what kept him from getting caught from authorities for so many years, because the mafia guys that were hiring him, they didn't care about his name. They didn't know who he was. They just knew he was the Pollock who killed people, and they would use this guy without knowing him, and no one ever got any information on him, so he didn't get caught.
Stop telling people my real name. I could have got away with some crimes, but now everyone knows my name's Russ.
And you're not a criminal. Stop acting like you
Just
are.
in case, you never know. I'm not going to do nothing silly, but, there's $1 on the floor, someone dropped it, I might pick it up.
So the one thread...
But I would give it back if they were there.
So the one thread of morality that he had, if you can imagine, even though he was a wife beater and a child beater, he refused to kill women and children. He would beat his own family regularly, but refused to kill women or children.
Well, he won't kill them, but he'll beat them.
Yeah, but he would only kill men with his contracts.
I'm with it.
So he got a new family in 19... What do you mean you're with it?
No, just like at least he's not killing women and children.
Oh, okay. So he got this new family in 1961. He met his wife, Barbara, he was working for this trucking company, right? So he decided...
He had a real job? I thought he was just a killer.
No, he ended up getting a real job for this trucking company. And he, like I said before, he also was working at 20th Century.
Your boy got a CDL and tried to turn his life around.
Yeah, he started working at this trucking company, and he met this girl, Barbara, who worked there as well. And they became, a thing. They started dating, and eventually he married her. And she described him as like Jekyll and Hyde. He would have a good Richie and a bad Richie. And good Richie was a loving provider, showered his family with lavish gifts. They got a new car every 6 months. I mean, he was rolling in the dough from all these contract kills. Every year they would go to Disney for 1 week, and they would spend an entire week in Disney World. They would be at the gates when Disney opened, and he said that he had a smile on his face the entire time. He was like a child when he went to Disney World, which a lot of people feel that way. But he did all these great things. I know, you've never been there, and you don't even have any interest in going.
No desire.
And I want to take you so bad.
I like to go to basketball games.
I know, I'm talking about Disney World.
I don't want to go there.
So anyway,
I'm an adult.
That was good Richie. He did all
Mickey
these...
Mouse here standing in front of the castle looking like a dummy.
Yeah, that was good Richie.
No, I'm not doing it.
Bad Richie would appear out of nowhere with like massive fits of rage. He would smash furniture. He would beat the crap out of his wife. He never beat his kids. He had 2 daughters and a son. He never beat his kids, but he emotionally abused them by, for instance, killing their dog, killing the family dog in front of his 3 children because his one daughter came home a little too late.
Wow.
So like he would emotionally abuse them by beating their mom and doing all these crazy things. He would say things like, if you ever acted up in this way, I would have to kill you. He would say that to his kids, and they believed him because you believe everything your parents say.
He wasn't kidding, probably.
And he probably wasn't kidding. Or, trying to prove a point. So before his kids were born, though, his wife had 3 miscarriages because he beat her so bad. And this is who he was. He was like this dual personality, which was, one of his daughters, Merrick, when she was born, she had a lot of kidney issues, and he apparently was like by her side all the time. He held her and coddled her and loved her. And that's the only daughter that later in life still stayed in contact with him because that was like daddy's girl. It was kind of his favorite, and she loved him no matter what he did. And she stayed loyal to him. But this was this dual personality that he had. So one time he stabbed his wife, Barbara, in the back with a hunting knife because she threatened to leave him after her kids were born. She said, I can't do this anymore. I got to leave you. Like, we can't live like this. It's too much. And he stabbed her in the back with a hunting knife. The neighbors had no idea anything was going on. They just saw him as this successful businessman, family man, working for 20th Century, doing his thing, living in the suburbs. No, he worked for the trucks for a little while.
2 jobs.
When he met Barbara. But he continued to work for 20th Century, and that's when he was selling the porn and, doing all that. But he wasn't a typical He wasn't a typical mobster or killer.
Well, he was a monster too.
He was a monster, but he wasn't a typical mobster in the way that he didn't do a lot of drugs. He didn't drink a lot of alcohol. He wasn't a womanizer. He wasn't out screwing a bunch of women. I mean, he was pretty faithful to his wife because I feel like he's like the type that he doesn't care about any of that. All he cares about is killing. Yeah.
Nothing else gave him a thrill, probably.
He did tend to gamble. That's the one thing, the one vice he had was...
I like gambling.
He tended to gamble a little too much. But that was it. He wasn't like in that other lifestyle. So his kills got more and more bizarre as they went on. He would dismember victims and then shove parts of their bodies up their butt. Literally, he would like cut off an arm and then shove that arm up the victim's butt.
That's terrible. I brought that up last week.
You did?
Yeah, when the guy cut the girl's arms off and he raped her, I was like, it was an eye for an eye. They should have like cut his arms off and shoved it up his butt.
Oh, you did say that.
Yeah, that's weird.
Ooh. Yeah, so he would do things like that. He would cut out victims' tongues and shove it up their butt. He had like a weird
He was
thing.
gay, I'm telling you.
He could have, so
he was gay, a lot of butt play.
He did have a lot of like little instances.
He beat up the gay people, a lot of people. I've watched a few things somewhere, and the people that kill the gay people and bash them are always gay, and they just, I don't know why they do it.
Yeah, it's like a...
They're in denial. They want to show, yeah. I was about to profile them. You don't have to jump in.
So one particular kill that was like especially brutal is he went all the way to Miami to kill a mark. They call it a mark, by the way. That's what they call contract kills. The victims, they call them marks. So he went all the way to Miami to kill this mark. He found the guy's car and he slashed one of the tires. He wanted to wait for the guy to come out, see his slashed tire, and then go into his trunk to get a spare tire. And that's when he came up behind him. That was his plan the whole time. So the guy went into the trunk to get the spare. He came up behind him, and he had a .38 against his back.
This damn podcast can have me paranoid to do everything. I don't want to walk my dog, someone get killed. If I have a flat tire, I'm like, I can't change this because someone might be waiting for me to open my trunk. I'm going to be like, I'm just going to leave my car. If I get a flat, my car's broken, I'm leaving it there forever. That's it. I'm going
AAA.
No, I'm going home. I can't do nothing.
Yeah, listening to true crime definitely makes you paranoid. It's for sure.
You get a flat tire, but nah, they're coming to get me.
I know, it's crazy. So he came up behind him, put a .38 against his back, and escorted him to this like abandoned part of the beach in Miami. He tied him to a tree. Are you ready for this?
So you always got to fight back. If in all the movies someone says, come with me, they have a gun, or they try to tie you up, just fight. At least let them kill you there where people might could see it, and they might could get them.
Yeah, he didn't fight. He walked,
just always fight back.
He might, you never know. These people are in the criminal underworld. Like, he might be some really bad guy. He might owe the mob a lot of money. He might have knew this was coming. You know, he was in Miami. Did he leave and run to Miami? You don't know the story.
Well, my rules to survive: always fight back. That's a new gem for this week. Always fight back.
Hashtag fight back.
Hashtag always fight back. Don't make it easy.
True. It's a good point. So listen to what he did to this guy. This is really crazy. He tied him to a tree. He ripped his pants down and took his balls and ripped them off. He then cut off the guy.
Oh my God, this hurts.
He then cut off the guy's penis. All right? He made multiple slashes all over the man's body. He took salt. He must have brought salt with him, like in his pocket, and poured salt in all of these wounds. Okay?
I wonder, do the people pay him to torture, or are they like, yo, just kill him? And
No, I think they just pay him to kill him, and he enjoys torturing.
Wow.
He then put a life jacket on the guy and threw him in the water and put the penis in a plastic bag and drove it all the way back to NYC and gave the mafia guy the penis.
I wonder what the reaction was. Like, bro, what am I do with this?
I know. What do you think? I mean, it's just so bizarre. So, like I said before, Kuklinski got really into experimenting with different ways of killing people, and he got really into poison, and he particularly with cyanide.
I think he is a serial killer, because if you're doing like cutting off their balls and stuff, like you're not just doing it for money.
No, it's a whole nother level.
Yeah, this dude was bugged out.
So he meets this guy named Robert Pronge. And Robert Pronge, they called him Mr. Softy because he drove a Mr. Softy truck.
Nah.
He was an ex-Special Forces.
I love Mr. Softy.
Except he was a hitman for the mob who drove a Mr. Softy
Yo,
truck.
That's nuts.
So Kuklinski says that he was extremely crazy, which is hilarious coming from this insane person to say that this guy, Mr. Softy, was extremely crazy.
What did he do?
Exactly. So he would kill people and freeze them in his Mr. Softy truck in the cooler.
That's not that crazy.
No, I know. But these two guys became really good friends. And they actually, this was one of the only friends that Richard Kuklinski ever had, because I think he could actually be his full self with this guy. Because they used to discuss ways to kill people. This guy had a whole library about...
This is like LeBron and Dwayne Wade getting together on the Miami Heat to form a super team.
And that's what they did. So they would talk about all these different ways to kill people. They would kill people together sometimes. He had a library of books about poison. And he was super into it because he was learning about how to use cyanide. So this guy taught him all these different ways to use cyanide. So... he had no friends before this point, really, no actual real friends. And this guy became his really close friend. So the first time that Richard used cyanide was he ended up going to a club. And this is going to go along with your he was gay theory. He ended up going.
No, he was gay.
Ends up going to this club, and the mark that he was trying to get was at this club. It was called Xenon, I think. It was kind of like Studio 54, but another version.
Gay club?
Of it. No, it was a regular club.
There probably
like
was
a disco. This was the 70s.
There probably was no gay club back then. Like, it was probably like a place where gay people hung out more. But gay wasn't like accepted back then.
Well, this was the 70s. It started becoming...
Jess always gets worried when I talk about something gay that I'm going to offend someone.
No, I'm not. I'm not even thinking about that.
Because she told me one time in one episode when I was saying, you know how you can tell if someone's gay? And she was like, I cringed. And I was like, because they always dress nice.
Well, sometimes I just cringe when I'm not sure of what's going to come out of your mouth, no matter what it is we're talking about. Just because I'm nervous about what's going to come out.
Well, gay people dress nice. When we were getting married, I hit up this gay dude I know to help me out with a suit.
Yeah, you did.
But I didn't go. I ended up just buying something on sale online.
Yeah, because he recommended a really expensive one.
Oh, yeah, he worked in an expensive place.
So he ended up going to this club because this is where the mark was. When he was doing like his recon to figure out how he was going to kill this guy, he was at the club and he realized, oh, there's a gay guy there that no one's paying attention to. And in his mind, he was like, all right, no one cares about this gay guy. So when I come to kill the man next week or whenever it was, I'm going to dress like a gay guy. I'm going to pretend I'm gay.
He's faking.
Because no one will notice me if I do that.
It's like a double fake. He's faking to be gay, but he's really gay. And now he's doing it.
So he dressed up in what he thought was gay male attire. He
not pink and yellow suits, right? Not those.
I don't know. He dressed up in what he thought was gay male attire. Came,
assless chaps.
started dancing in the middle of the dance floor. I guess pretending
gayish,
to be gay
twirling.
In his mind. Yeah, he pretended he was playing this role, and he had the cyanide. He walked up to this guy and he just blew the cyanide in his face. Blew it in his face, and the guy within a matter of minutes had a cardiac arrest.
Cyanide's that dangerous?
Yes, it's that dangerous.
How do we get rid of that? That shouldn't. Anybody could just kill me right now.
You can, if you inhale it, if you eat it, you're dead in minutes.
Is it easy to get?
I don't think it's easy to get.
Who has it?
I don't know.
I don't want it, but I want to know.
Cyanide. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Because when you vote for me, we're going to get rid of cyanide.
so
I'm trying to figure out who has it, because you ain't going to have it no more.
So he used it. He blew it in the guy's face. The guy had they assumed a heart attack.
Holy moly.
They didn't have the ability to test for it back then, like with autopsies. So they just said this guy died of a heart attack in the middle of the dance floor while he was dancing. And he never got caught for it.
What did he say? Never mind.
He danced to death.
Yeah, I don't know. I was going somewhere and I got lost again.
So at this point, life is going good for Richard Kuklinski. Life's going great. He's got a best friend who loves killing as much as him. He's making tons of money. He's like rolling in the dough. And he's working for mainly the Gambino crime family. He's in with this mob and he's loving life. So one thing interesting is Robert Pronge, the guy, Mr. Softy.
It's funny that his best friend's last name finished with gay.
Well, it's not spelled like that.
It's Pronge.
That's just how you pronounce it. He was later found shot to death in his Mr. Softy truck.
He knew too much.
And
that could have been anyone.
No, Kuklinski, years later, while in prison, he took claim that he's the one that shot his best friend to death.
Did he say why?
I don't think so. No, he just said that he shot him to death. So this is Kuklinski's downfall. We're getting, we just talked about his life was going great. And now, of course, for anybody who is a terrible person like this, eventually they fall. And the downfall was a man named George Malaban. So now we're getting into like the 80s. And Richard's getting a little old and he's getting sloppy. So Roy DeMeo hired him.
He's probably getting confident. Like, I could never get caught. I could do whatever.
I feel like he's more just getting sloppy. I mean, after years and years and years of killing this many people.
I think you get careless. Like, it doesn't matter. No one's going to know.
Yeah.
Like, maybe I've been doing all this extra for no reason.
Well, the Gambinos wanted to hire him to kill a guy named George Malaban. George Malaban also started making threats on Kuklinski's family. So this made Kuklinski even more mad and like really wanted to kill him, because he wasn't only somebody that the mob wanted, he was also somebody who was making threats against his family. And even though he wasn't the best family man, it's more of like, this is my property, I own them. This is my family.
Like, you have to respect me. Like,
yeah, it's more of a respect issue. So So Kuklinski randomly came up to Malaban while he was sitting in his car. He shot him 5 times. But there was a problem, because Malaban weighed 300 pounds. He was a giant, big, fat dude, and it was really hard to dispose of his body. Richard tried stuffing him into a 50-gallon steel drum. Normally, Richard's MO was if he put a victim's body in a drum, he would weld it shut. He had a welder that he would use to weld it shut. But like I said, he was getting a little sloppy. He just threw the top on it. He didn't weld it shut. And then he went to like a chemical plant and rolled it down this long hill, dumped this steel drum in the chemical plant. But Malaban's leg came out of the top of the drum, and people saw that there was a dead body in there.
Sounds like he was getting lazy. He reminds me of like when you first start your job, you're really good at it. You're like, and then eventually you're like, screw this
whatever.
shit.
Like, he got away with so much.
You're cutting corners, like...
He definitely cut corners with this one. So, an undercover ATF agent named Dominic Polifroni, I think that's how you pronounce it, Polifroni, he was undercover with the mob for about 6 years, and now his new mission was to get close to Kuklinski and get him to admit all of...
That's dangerous.
Very dangerous. So he went in to this job, to a very dangerous job.
It's like a kamikaze mission, because he kills his best friend.
He kills everyone, exactly. So over the course of 15 months, he got good in with the Iceman, and they would meet at Dunkin' Donuts. I don't know how he did it. He got him to trust him, but they would meet at Dunkin' Donuts, get a coffee, and talk all about arms deals, drug deals, and his killings. They spoke about him using cyanide and his fascination with poisons, and that's how that all came out. And then in December of 1986, Polifroni finally nailed him by tricking him into buying pure cyanide from him.
This is why I don't make new friends. They might use anything you say against you. I haven't done anything illegal.
Exactly. You act like you're somebody
But you never know. They could use stuff against you. Don't make new friends. That's another way to stay alive. And stay out of jail if you're a crook. Don't make new friends. I only have like one new friend in my whole life.
You do.
And that new friend's been around probably like 10 years, so I guess he's not that new. But most of my friends are from when I'm like 5 years old. It's
true, you do. So he...
Shout out to them that don't really listen to the podcasts.
They don't?
They should.
Some of them do. Some of your friends listen.
Maybe.
So Polifroni finally nailed him by tricking him into buying pure cyanide from him. That's how he got him.
It's illegal to buy cyanide?
Yes.
Well, that's good. I thought it was like at CVS. That's why I was so worried. I was like, you could just go get this potion at CVS.
No.
You pay for your cyanide, you get the long ass scroll receipt, and then you go out and you kill someone, and next time you get 20% off on the receipt.
What do you think, it's like in a package like Epsom salt or something? No.
Yeah. I thought it was right next to the Infamil or something. I don't know.
No. So he was convicted. Richard Kuklinski was convicted of 6 murders. 6. And one of them was the guy Malaban, whose leg was hanging out of the drum.
That's enough to put him away, sloppy. So whatever.
It was enough to put him away, but whatever. It's only 6, and he killed like hundreds.
That doesn't matter. If you're away forever, if you got convicted of 6, but now you're only away for 20 years or whatever, like, so when someone gets convicted for not all their crimes, but they're still paying the same price as if they got convicted for all of them. So to me, it equals out.
Yeah, that's true. So in 1992, like I said, HBO did their documentary on him while he was in prison, and that became a pretty big deal. And then they made the movie The Iceman, which I watched the other day, and I don't recommend it because it is totally false about how this guy was. This movie The Iceman, who was in it?
I forgot. I watched this, but I forgot about it.
Oh, what's his name?
But you know what? A movie doesn't have to be historically accurate to be entertaining.
It's true. It was still an entertaining movie, but what's the guy's name from Goodfellas? Ray Liotta.
Yeah, Ray.
Ray Liotta played Roy DeMeo in the movie Iceman.
Oh, the snitch.
Not the snitch. Roy DeMeo was the guy who worked for the Gambino family, who I told you got him in with the Gambino family.
Oh, I thought we were talking about the guy who pretended to be his friend and met him at Dunkin' Donuts.
No. So in the movie The Iceman, they portray Richard as this guy who's like super devoted to his family, and he loves his family, and he's just out killing because he has to like create this life for his family, which is totally false. He was a piece of shit husband who beat his wife all the time and had, fits of rage. Yeah, he had a good side, but they didn't show the real Richard Kuklinski in this movie, which kind of makes it, I feel like more people are going to watch that than watch the HBO documentary.
Or listen to our podcast and find out the truth.
Find out the truth. So they're going to see the movie The Iceman and assume that he was like, this decent guy. And he wasn't. He was a terrible person.
That's why Paul probably wanted us to do this. Paul, I'm glad we enlightened you.
Paul probably already knew all this crazy stuff. He said that he already knew everything, but he wanted to hear your commentary on it.
Oh. Well, I'm here for you, Paul. Vote for me.
So Richard Kuklinski died in prison of apparent natural causes at age 70.
That's pretty... I wouldn't... She did air quotations of natural causes, but as a man, 70 is, after 70, you're probably playing with house money.
The thing is, though, when you work in a hospital and you see 70-year-old men, I come across a lot of 70-year-old men. They're not as old as you think. Like, they're not these old and frail. Like,
there's
70-year-old men, they still can walk fine. They can take care of themselves. Like, they're not dilapidated.
Nah, I've seen 60s that can't move. 70 is like the medium of like... if you lived a good life at 70, you're probably all right. But if, you're like me and drink wine and do podcasts and drink a lot of beers, at 70, I might be... But I do push-ups.
Yeah, you work out.
I run a little.
You work out. You'll be fine. So some people were suspicious of his death because right before he died, he was subpoenaed as a witness at a trial for the Gambino family, one of the Gambino family's underbosses. So this caused suspicion, and that's why I did air quotes, because he was about to testify in court as a witness.
Every time Jess says air quotes, she does air quotes, just for the visual. If you want the visual, she said I did air quotes, and her hands are above her head with the fingers.
It's like, you never saw Chris Farley, but Chris Farley
does... I hate Chris Farley.
I love Chris Farley. And Chris Farley does a bit where he uses air quotes for everything, and it's so funny. I do that all the time. I realize that I do air quotes all the time. It's kind of funny.
All right, but I hate Chris Farley. I'm not the only one.
Anyway, so that's the story of Richard Kuklinski. And I feel like I'm glad I did it because I thought it was just going to be some typical mafia story, but this guy was on a whole other level.
This was pretty solid. There wasn't as many sad moments. Like, we had a lot of sad moments. This one, we had the killing the animals. I hate that.
Yeah.
I love animals.
Yeah, there's been a few episodes
he killed his
with some
brother,
real
but
sad...
there's been some that it's been hard to get through. This one, it started off a little sad, but then he was just killing douchebags and ice cream men. And everyone loves ice cream men.
Well, that guy, Mr. Softy, he was crazy. And if someone like Richard's going to call you crazy, then you are crazy.
I know, and that guy never got to tell his story because Kuklinski.
I knew you wouldn't be able to say
Damn it. Kuklinski. Is that it?
Kuklinski, yeah, that's right.
I did it. He embarrassed me now.
I knew you wouldn't be able to say it. That's so funny.
Don't embarrass me.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you for tuning in. This one went a little long. We're at an hour and 10 minutes. This is one of our longer episodes.
I know, and we got somewhere to go.
We did a lot of banter.
I thought I was going to get in trouble. Jess was going to be like, shut up.
No. It was fun. Some people...
So now she's talking really fast. She's like, we got to end this. It's been an hour and 10 minutes. We got to go right now. Have everybody spend a good week.
Some people really like our banter. Some people don't probably like it as much. But some people really like our banter. Some people like when I get mad at you. Some people don't. We're trying to just cater to everybody. Every episode is going to be different.
No, we're really not, because we're just being ourselves and we can't be anyone else.
That's true. We are just being ourselves. That's true. When
the microphone isn't on, the same banter happens and the same getting in trouble happens for me. She's like, don't say that. The same thing. Ask my sister. She listens. I ain't going to tell you Instagram unless she wants to share it.
Well, have a wonderful week. We'll talk to you guys soon. Check out Wife of Crime Pod on Instagram, Wife of Crime on Facebook, Wife of Crime on Twitter. Or no, actually, on Twitter, it's at Wife Crime. It wouldn't let me put of in the middle. So it's on Twitter, it's at Wife Crime. You can email us any case suggestions. I have gotten some case suggestions.
Really?
Yes, I've gotten like 3 or 4. I haven't forgotten about you. I will do them. I'm just trying to be strategic with the type of cases I pick each week because I want to keep variety happening. But I did see you. I do acknowledge that I saw them and they will get done. So definitely email me some case suggestions at wifeofcrimepod@gmail.com.
Really?
That's it.
To interact with us, just go to the Wife of Crime Pod on Instagram. Jess is on there heavy, and I look at it too. Jess replies because...
You reply too.
No, but I don't reply a lot because you're nicer at it.
All right, bye everyone. See you later.
Vote for us. I'm out.